Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Dr. Collura, Dr. Bill Anton with CEO Effectiveness. And having a great discussion this morning. Of course, we want to loop you all in and dive into a very important thing that Dr. Anton and I have been exploring, and in particular, some incredible insights that Dr. Anton has. So, Dr. Anton, we've been talking about conversation and discussion within organizations. So we're thinking about having to deal with challenging topics, things that may feel a bit uncomfortable, or having to break bad news, or if I'm a leader or if I'm in that C-suite and having to have discussions about the vision of the company and having input coming in from my team members, right? What's kind of the best way or a good practice to kind of invoke within the organization to create meaningful, productive discussion?
You know, I think an important distinction, and you mentioned both words, is the difference between discussion and a conversation. When I think of discussion, I think of percussion and sort of like a pounding or engaging in a way of resolving differences in advocacy for the same position, where a conversation is really a way of revealing some of your truth. One of the books that I love greatly is The Fifth Discipline by Peter Sinjay. And one of the disciplines he talks about that is essential for creating an organization that is capable of learning. Both the organization is capable of learning, and the individuals within the organization are capable of learning through personal mastery. The way in which a team relates in that context to optimize team learning, that is, to create a team that could achieve more potentially than what the subtotal of the individual members can achieve, is simply dialogue. And dialogue is really a way of getting your own truth into the conversation.
So when we're thinking about dialogue, and I think of folks who run companies who have very influential positions, right, within an organization, and this idea of having folks that look to them for leadership, right? Look to them for direction, guidance. So my ability to lead others and telling them what to do, right? That notion of I'm going to tell you what to do. There's a right way and a wrong way to do that, right? And so when we're thinking about dialogue, what's kind of the secret sauce of doing it to where you're not discouraging your team members, you're encouraging them and welcoming their feedback because you want them to have a voice?
Yeah. Well, again, if you want to contrast telling them what to do, which may get some result, but not the kind of creative result you want, you might think of a conversation with an employee or a direct report where you actually ask them to help you identify the conditions under which they work best. What are the conditions that they feel the most energized, the most committed, the most excited about coming to work? And it might be different for different people. For example, somebody that has a high level of drive and is kind of like a racehorse just waiting for the gates to open does not need for you to look over their shoulder. What they might need is clear direction so that they're pursuing something that's meaningful to the organization. Whereas a person, let's say, that is on the lower end of drive, they might need the more direct push or the sort of like the micromanagement more than the other person. Ideally, though, you want an organization where every member of the organization is functioning optimally. And that kind of performance is a result of the relationship between leadership and direct reports and the people who are really trying to accomplish the task.
So are there specific things, right? So if I'm thinking about having a conversation, is there a line that we keep where we want to maintain that professionalism that at the end of the day, I am your boss, so I'm the one who's leading the charge, but I do want your feedback. But is there ever a gray area where we get too friendly in discussion, too friendly in conversation?
Yeah. I mean, the organization, your relationship with the people in the organization is not a friendship. It's an organization where there's a protocol, and the protocol is linked to what the organization is trying to achieve. So you don't abandon the protocol, But within the protocol, you're still human beings and individuals, and the amount of energy and creativity and love that you bring to work is really given voluntarily, because people can hide in all sorts of ways, and people can pull back tacitly in response to the way that you engage with them. So I would say, yeah, keep in mind that you're there for a purpose, but within that broad umbrella, the way to have us all give our best to an organization is to feel seen, to feel recognized, to feel valued. And if the executive at the top doesn't feel that way in relationship to themselves, then they're not going to see what people who are directly reporting to them actually need.
So being able to see the needs of others, but much deeper than just their job description.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And introduce a little of your truth. For example, one of the really difficult things for executives is when they have to let go of an employee. You know, particularly an employee that is the right person in the wrong position. That is, it's a well-trained person, somebody who's giving their best, but they're just in the wrong position in the organization, and the organization doesn't have a position for them. And so rather than just totally trying to protect yourself in terms of how you engage with this person in the process of terminating them, I think letting some of your truth come through in the process. Like, I could see a person saying, honestly, this is the reason, you are the right person, but this is the wrong position. I'll do anything I can to help you find another job. I have great respect for your talents and abilities. And it really, I feel very sad that I have to do this, but I also have a responsibility that's overarching my individual feelings, but I think it would be useful for me to share them with you so that you can get the total picture. So that, you know, that's a conversation that follows the protocol of being part of an organization. And you're not going to be sobbing because you have to let the person go, right, or tell the person, you know, I still want to be your friend, or things like that. But you're able to communicate your own humanity and the totality of your feelings, along with the objective reality of why this person isn't fitting in. And if anything, I think that reduces lawsuits and reduces retaliation and reduces negative feelings on the part of the person who is receiving the message that one assumes they don't want to hear. Although most of them, by the time the executive gets to the stage of having to do this, most people that are sentient and aware, you know, they have a glimpse, they know what's about to come or coming.
So painting the big picture, taking the time to sit down and have a meaningful discussion about things that, perhaps to your point, your inner truth, and connect with their inner truth, to kind of give them the overarching idea of what's happening, but you are still there to support them and help them in any way that you can.
Exactly. You're there to support them and help them to be all that they can be within the organization that you're responsible for guiding.
Now we live in an incredibly unique time in the sense that so many folks work remotely, right? We have folks that have companies and employees across the country, so there's not that direct face-to-face interaction, right, to be able to pick up on one's energy, one's emotion, what's going on. So any tips or any thoughts for folks who have that sort of business model and to be able to have that same type of connection when they're having those challenging discussions and conversations?
Yeah. Well, that's a bit more difficult. I would say definitely before you hire the person, you need to have a face-to-face, because we receive a lot of information that's not cortical or not linked to the brain in our head.
Right.
And sometimes, again, to the extent to which the leader knows themselves, that information is going to be valid and reliable. So that's part of picking the right person, but I wouldn't underestimate assessment. We just dealt with a national company where they hired the best and the brightest, and they met all the criteria for technical skills. Their prior job performance was stellar according to their previous employer, and yet when they were working remotely, they really were being totally unproductive. So a person can be capable of doing their job and choose not to do it because of other qualities. And that's one of the ways, or one of the areas where at CEOE we're really committed to the kind of assessment that deals with things like character emotionality, openness, all within the normal range. But it can save corporations and executives a lot of money and a lot of pain in the long run if they address those issues up front. And I kind of think of it as an investment rather than an expenditure, because in reality, it doesn't cost that much to take the extra step. And the payoff can be enormous.
Absolutely, absolutely. There you have it, folks, from the expert himself, Dr. Bill Anton, CEO of Effectiveness. Such a pleasure to have you all join us on this Friday morning. Make it a wonderful day. Have a fantastic weekend. Dr. Anton?
Thank you. Yeah, have a great weekend. And it's always great to connect with you.
Absolutely. Thank you all.